Hi there. Welcome to Sunnyside Journals. I'm Catherine. I'm here today with just a little what's on my desk and a little visit. Hold on, let me put this thing away. Oh, you'll be proud of me. I hid the martini glass with the festive bells because I really shouldn't be into martinis yet. Where I am right now, it's only 12:15. But it is Saturday. No. No martinis yet. So I just thought I'd have a little visit and show you what's on my desk and what I'm working on. Hold on, I'm going to sit down here. I thought, pardon me, I finished up with the two sort of nature solstice, winter, Christmassy stars and moon and snow and animals. I finished up those two journals. Boy, I really, really enjoyed making those. I had always dreamed of doing a journal that was definitely a Christmas journal, but also still more of a natural feel to it rather than the glitz and sparkle and, Hallmark, go spend your money kind of Christmassy thing. Hold on, I'm going to stand up so I make sure that I'm always in. There we go. And then I enjoyed doing them. They ended up getting called, my journals always, I start talking to them while I'm working on them, and they end up with names. Sometimes it's easier when they have some kind of plate on the front, because then the name just comes naturally, because I just start calling them by the plate. Gee, I don't know why I'm coughing there. Anyhow, so Trust and Wonder were the two nature Christmassy themed journals. And then I also did Little Dorrit, which I loved doing Little Dorrit. That one was fun because it was very old-fashioned-y Victorian Dickens kind of junk journal. So I really thought that when I finished Wonder, I thought, you know what? Even if I started another Christmas journal right now, there's no way that it would ever get finished and get shipped to whoever wanted to purchase it. So then I thought, oh, why bother? But then I came up with this idea, and I thought, no, I've still got to make this anyways. And whether someone, wants this journal or whether it sits in my Etsy shop till next year when the season comes around again, who knows? I really felt strongly that I found the right book to do it in, and I felt inspired, and I'm so stoked about this journal. I'm already loving what I'm doing with it. And I'll tell you what inspired me. When I was looking for natural kind of ephemera and fussy cuts, because I fussy cut throughout the year. If I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, I have scissors and books going. And so when I was looking through them and I was looking for natural things, a lot of little sort of ragamuffin children kept coming up in the things I was finding. Certainly there were also very wealthy children coming up that were, dancing with delight at the glut of toys that Father Christmas had brought them. But I was also finding these little children, and I really, really strongly felt like at first I was thinking in my head, I was calling it a poor child's Christmas. And then I didn't want it to be sad, because I know in my heart that just because you're not wealthy financially, you can absolutely be wealthy in other ways, and wealthy children can actually be poor in many ways. So, jeepers, I don't know, and who out there would want a journal with the theme of a poor child's Christmas? But it was still tugging at my heart. And then I started thinking about, because I've been watching, I love A Christmas Carol. I read it every year. I love Dickens. I've read almost all of his books. I love his sense of humor that he plays with his words, and you really, really get to know him in his books. And so if you saw the movie The Man Who Invented Christmas, that was a lot of fun. That really inspired me. And then, of course, my favorite, and you're going to laugh, my favorite version of A Christmas Carol is A Muppet Christmas Carol. I love A Muppet Christmas Carol. I love the music. I love the characters. I love everything about A Muppet Christmas Carol, that the humans don't notice that there are penguins wearing Victorian clothing walking down the street, or a rat. Anyhow, so then I started thinking, okay, how can I do a junk journal that isn't necessarily a Christmas Carol? And then I thought, I could do a Cratchit Christmas. And what was Christmas like for the Cratchit family? I often think of the Cratchit family because the Cratchits lived in, the book Christmas Carol says that they lived in Camden Town. And my grandmother was from Camden Town. And some people say, although Bob Cratchit's address was never ever given in the book, only that he lived in Camden Town, but some people say that the reason Dickens placed the family there was because that's where he lived before his father got thrown into debtor's prison, and he had to also, back then, if one person went to prison, the whole family went in to the workhouse. So Charles Dickens actually lived in a Victorian workhouse when he was 12 years old because of his father's debt, which is outrageous, which caused him to write books such as Oliver Twist and A Christmas Carol, and that his outrage at the treatment of children and the poor in general. Okay, I'm preaching on here. Anyhow, so then I got thinking, you know what, maybe a Cratchit Christmas would be my ideal way, because I could do my first few signatures about humble children that have a very simple life and simpler things that bring them delight, and then have it evolve through the signatures till the end when Ebenezer, and I also love A Christmas Carol because my great-grandfather's name was Ebenezer, and he was alive during that time. It was actually a very popular name. And then suddenly, when A Christmas Carol was published, if you start researching through the censuses, like I do because I'm addicted to genealogy, the name suddenly dropped like a hot potato. Those little boys were not being named Ebenezer anymore, which is why actually my grandfather, they gave him the initial E, his parents, Ebenezer and Alice, but they gave him the name Ernest. And then he named his son Ernest, and he named his son Ernest, and there are a lot of Ernests in my family. But not a lot of Ebenezers, just the one Ebenezer. Anyhow, I thought by the end, when Ebenezer Scrooge has his awakening and his change of heart, that could change the feeling of the junk journal and the Cratchits. We could see what their Christmases ended up becoming when they suddenly, when Bob was being paid well for his job, and you know, they, in the end it said that Scrooge became family to them by the end. So that is what I'm working on, and I'm so excited about it. So I found this old book. See, if you follow me on Instagram, you've been watching me gut this book. I'm at the stage now where I keep it on fabric. So I've got the cover finished for the most part. Where'd that go? I do want to put a key on it. This book is actually, as best I know, it's 1897, or most likely a little earlier. Unfortunately, it's one of those books that the publisher did not put a year in it. But there was a salutation written inside, and I can't find it right now. But it was a gift from a father to his son or daughter. Actually, it's just initials now that I think about it. So it could be a son or a daughter. For December of 1897, December 25th, 1897, it's written in the top from, no, that's right, it says from his father. So it whoever it was a male boy, a boy. And I can't find it right now. So at the earliest, this book is at least 1897. It could be older than that. I don't know. It certainly feels that old. So, and it's an unusual little book, Thaddeus of Warsaw. I always leaf through them to see what they're about, and it's about actually it goes on all over the place in Europe, in Vienna, and over in England. It's all over the place. And so it actually had, it said Thaddeus of Warsaw across here in gold, and it had Thaddeus of Warsaw here on the spine. So I knew I needed to cover that up. I fortified the spine. It was falling apart. So I raided my Christmas wrapping paper and got out a Christmas cardboard roll out of the center of it and rebuilt this spine. I've added some seam binding so that will be able to tie it shut. But I really, really thought this cover, I'm going to bring it up close so you can see. I just thought it really, really looked Christmassy. And usually, you know me, I'm usually addicted to red books, but this is such a beautiful, beautiful green. And I just imagined, so if this book is about the Cratchit family, that maybe at some point Bob was able to bring a partially used ledger book home and just start recording the comings and goings of his family. That this was just sitting around collecting dust or getting moldy, so Bob brought it home because he couldn't go to a store and buy his own. And so and of course, a few little liberties because you want it to look Christmassy. I love here, this little part of the embossing, hold on, looks like holly leaves. So now this is, as ever, I love using these. This is actually a door lock plate, a bolt plate that, you turn the door and the bolt goes in, and this is on the other side. And then I've used vintage brads to hold it in place. The end papers will go over and cover these. I'll flatten them down further and you'll never know that they were there. So in order for this to be a ledger, I had to cover up, it had Thaddeus of Warsaw written here. So I had to cover that up. And you know what? I had a lot of fun. Yesterday afternoon, I was here at my desk, and I was actually, and I haven't done this for years, I hauled out my old my old dip nib pen, and got out my ink, and I actually diluted it because it was too dark brown. It looked fresh, and I wanted the ledger to look faded. And of course, I wrote 1843 here. That's the year that A Christmas Carol was first published. So I thought, all right, well, maybe this was a ledger that was on the shelf from 1843. I mean, just that's a little tip of the hat to Dickens and to A Christmas Carol. So anyhow, yeah, I had a lot of fun. I was practicing out my old writing again and going over and over, writing ledger. My problem is for script handwriting, boy, I have a really hard time getting enough of a slant the way they wrote. They really wrote with quite an exaggerated slant. And I have a slight slant to my natural handwriting, but not at the degree. Mine is more just slightly at 1 o'clock. And they really, they were like at 3 o'clock. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. And the paper I used to create these labels, all 3 labels, was actually paper from the inside of the book. So that, again, trying to honor the book and include as much of it back into it as I can. I think I'm going to be doing 5 signatures in the book, and that works out well because the book, A Christmas Carol, has what's called 5 staves. So I'm going to, each signature is going to be a stave of the Cratchit Christmas. And I've got the papers mostly ready. I have a few things I want to add. Let me move this out of the way. Off you go, Thaddeus. Oh, let's put this. As ever, I like to keep the old block inside just to protect that. It would be a shame if I had this laying somewhere and then it got crunched down and I lost that beautiful arch. So that's just what I do. I was going to tell you something else and my mind is gone. Oh, for junk journals are all different. For me, I really get my inspiration from the cover as I work on the cover. So some people make their insides first and then design and finish their cover. I find for me, I really get inspiration from the cover, and 99 times out of 100, I almost completely finish my cover before I get started on the signatures. And even then, when I get the signatures ready, I start decorating from the front in and from the back in. I don't know why. It's just the way I've always worked. So let me put this out of the way. And we can take a look at the papers that I've chosen. I've had them in my press overnight. And I always have to remember lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So come on, you. Undo. There we go. Come on. That's better. As ever, I highly recommend go over to Sea Lemon. Lefty-loosey. Go over to Sea Lemon. You can make yourself a book press for less than $10. And you can do it as long as you've got a drill. And I just figured out how to use the drill. I'm not a handy person. But I figured, how hard can it be? You grip it, push the button, and push down. And try not to drill it right through your foot. And I did it. I did okay. So I just find that pressing my signatures ahead of time really gives me a better indication of how much room I'm going to have for my ephemera. So I've got, oh, that's 3. I always write my number for the signatures and an arrow pointing to the top. So 3, 4, 5, 1 and 2. Alrighty. So with let me get my cover again. So with Bless Us Everyone. Oh, I guess that's going to be its name. Let's see how these are going to fit. I think I'm going to have lots of good room. Yes. I was hoping for a bit more space because I have a few more things I want to put in. I want to, I'm using a lot of ledger paper because Scrooge and Marley was a counting house. So that they called it a counting house, bookkeeping, accounting. He also, from what you can garner from the story, he held the mortgages on people's property. So he was a landlord and he was also a mortgage holder and a money lender. So I want to use a lot of ledger paper, and I'm even going to use ledger paper as the inside, the end papers. I chose 13 on purpose because it's kind of, the book doesn't start out very nice. Everyone's having a bit of bad luck, of not only the Cratchits, but Scrooge really is, because of his own poor choices, he's having a lot of bad luck. So I've got some tea-dyed paper chosen. I went through the original book and I chose some interesting chapter pages. I liked this one. The beginning of that chapter is called The Spirit of Peace. So that felt kind of Christmassy. And of course, lots of ledger paper. Each signature is going to have at least 2 ledger papers. This is from an old hymn book. So I've chosen a variety of Christmas carols and also some, I hope it's not too dark for some people, but I've chosen some funeral hymns because, of course, there's 3 deaths mentioned in in A Christmas Carol, and it's quite a prevalent part of the story theme, because first of all, Marley's dead, so nothing would have happened if Marley hadn't come back and given Scrooge a talking to. And then, of course, Tiny Tim's death is hinted at, and same with Scrooge himself, his death is hinted at. So, and Fan, Scrooge's sister, she died, which is why his nephew Fred, he at first was very close to him and then slowly became distanced. So, and I found this. I actually have a funeral guest book. I have a guest book for every season. So I actually tea-dyed these last night, and I'm going to make a signature leaf out of the pages from a funeral guest book. And I think I'm going to do them opposite. I think I'm going to join them here, because I really like this unusual edging that was in the book, because they were in a spiral ring. So I'm going to find a way to put those in. I have some recipes. Where are they? I'm looking for things. No, I have a few recipes, because one of the staves I want to be Mrs. Cratchit's kitchen. Oh, somebody's trying to get me. Oh, it's my girls. Hi, girls. I'll talk to you in a second. So there's that. Oh, jeepers, I don't have that on the fabric. And if anyone's wondering, I really researched this, because at first I wondered, is it, because Tiny Tim says, God bless us, everyone. And I thought, is it everyone, as in one word, or is it every one? And so I actually looked it up in I have several editions of A Christmas Carol. So here, I've grabbed one here. And it is two words that is used. So it is everyone. It's not everyone. And I think the reason is because that makes the difference between, if we said, God bless us, everyone, that would sort of infer that everyone should God bless us. Whereas if it's God bless us, everyone, it means God should bless every one of us. Does that make sense? That's the way I think of it. Anyhow, so that is correct. If anyone was looking at this and going, Catherine, what have you done? It should be everyone. No, it's actually not. I contacted Mr. Dickens himself. And in his own words, it was everyone. So that's what I've got on my desk. And here's my offcuts from all my signatures. So I'm going to find some little booklets to make out of those. And, oh, that was another thing I looked up, because I wanted to make sure that I was trying to be true. I'm too fussy for my papers for my own good. I've got some of that banking ledger paper in here that I love, these big sheets. Well, maybe you're not in the first signature. You must be in the second one. And I was worried, because it really is a banking ledger, and it talks about checks and keeping track of checks. Here we go, bank account reconciliations, and then check register. See how it says check register here? Hold on. And then I worried, because I thought, uh-oh. And I shouldn't have worried, but I thought, uh-oh, how do they spell checks, as in a financial writing a check, a monetary check? How do they spell that over in the UK? And of course, I should have known. But live and learn. I presumed that over here in Canada, we spell it this way because we are a bilingual country. And I wondered if that was why we spell check this way. But actually in England, so this is a UK thing. If you're writing a check, it's CHEQUE. Whereas if you're going to, I think I will check on the dog, that is CHECK. So the action of checking is CHECK, or check mark is CHECK. But if you're writing out a financial piece of paper that is actually worth a value of money, that is a check, CHEQUE. So this actually worked out. Yes, it worked out well. And I got a few of them in here. So Bob Cratchit probably would have written on sheets such as that. So there we go. I'm going to find a few more recipe type leaves to put in, and I want to add to one of the end signatures a leaf that is children's toys. So I think I'm going to do this, but I want to go tea dye this first. So that's it. I'm going to get to work. I have the afternoon, and then we have a little family Christmas get together that I'm looking forward to tonight. So I hope you're all having a great day at your desk, if that's what you're doing, or else whatever you're doing, that it's enjoyable. And we will talk soon, and hopefully maybe by Monday or so I'll have an update on how much further Bless Us Everyone is coming along. Take care, everyone. We'll talk soon. Bye.